The Galactic Council had existed for 12,000 years before humanity ever looked up at the stars and wondered what secrets they held. The Council governed over 400 species spread across 9 spiral arms of the galaxy. They had rules. They had traditions. They had peace treaties signed in languages that were old when Earth's dinosaurs still walked. And most importantly, they had order. When humanity finally crawled out of their small blue world and stumbled into the greater cosmos, the Council watched with mild amusement. These creatures were young, barely capable of basic faster-than-light travel. Their ships were crude boxes of metal with primitive engines strapped to them. The Council had seen countless young species rise from their birth worlds. Most of them learned quickly. They joined the Council, accepted the laws, and found their small place in the endless sea of stars. Humanity would be no different. That was what the Council believed. The first contact happened in the year 2187 by Earth's calendar. A Council diplomatic vessel appeared in the Sol system and transmitted greetings in 17,000 languages. Humanity responded with curiosity and wonder. Ambassador Wei stood aboard the United Earth ship Horizon and shook hands with creatures that looked like walking trees, floating jellyfish, and crystalline spiders. It was a moment of hope, a moment of connection. Then came the rules. The Council's laws were simple for those who followed them. New species were classified as minor members. They could trade only with approved partners. They could expand only to systems designated by the Council. They could build military vessels, but only in numbers approved by the Defense Bureau. They could not develop certain weapons. They could not create artificial intelligences. They could not modify their own genetic code beyond correcting diseases. The list went on for 300 pages. Humanity listened, humanity nodded, humanity smiled politely. And then humanity ignored everything. The Council's first warning came in 2192 when human colony ships were detected in the Vega system. This system was not on the approved expansion list. A formal complaint was filed. Earth's representatives apologized and promised to investigate the mistake. 6 months later, human ships were found in 4 more unapproved systems. The Council issued a stronger warning. Earth's government sent back a message expressing regret for any confusion. By 2205, humanity had colonized 37 systems. Only 4 of them had been approved. High Counselor of the Dominion of Shells called an emergency session. The ancient creature, whose species had been founding members of the Council, looked upon the gathered representatives with all 6 of his crystalline eyes. "These humans do not respect our authority," he said. "They expand like a virus. They breed like parasites. They build ships faster than any young species in recorded history. Something must be done." The Council debated for 11 days. Some wanted to impose economic sanctions. Others suggested sending a peacekeeping fleet to enforce borders. A few radical voices called for complete isolation of the Sol system. In the end, they chose a measured response. They would restrict humanity's access to galactic trade networks. Without advanced materials and technology, surely the humans would understand their place. Earth's response arrived 3 weeks later. It was not an apology. It was not a negotiation. It was a simple statement broadcast on all Council frequencies. The people of Earth thank the Galactic Council for their guidance. However, we must respectfully decline to accept restrictions on our sovereign expansion. We will continue to pursue peaceful colonization of unclaimed systems. We hope this will not affect our friendly relations with Council members. High Counselor read the message 17 times. He could not believe what he was seeing. No species had ever declined a Council directive, not in 12,000 years. The economic restrictions were implemented immediately. Trade stations closed their docks to human vessels. Supply lines were cut. Technology transfers were forbidden. The Council expected humanity to come begging within a year. 5 years passed. Humanity did not beg. Instead, something strange began happening across the galaxy. Human merchant ships appeared at independent stations. trading goods that should have been impossible for such a young species to produce. Advanced alloys, efficient power cells, medical compounds that could extend life by decades. When Council investigators examined these products, they found no trace of stolen technology. Humanity had developed these things on their own. In 2215, the Council received reports that made no sense. Human explorers had reached the galactic rim. Their ships were traveling faster than before, much faster. Scout vessels from the Observation Corps tracked human expeditions moving at speeds that rivaled Council warships. This was not possible. This could not be real. High Counselor demanded answers. The Science Ministry launched an investigation. What they discovered shook the foundations of galactic understanding. Humanity had not been idle during their isolation. Cut off from galactic technology, they had built their own. They had done in 30 years what most species took 3,000 to achieve. Their scientists worked without sleep, driven by something the Council had forgotten existed. They called it spite. The Council voted for direct intervention in 2218. A fleet of 600 warships, drawn from 12 member species, was assembled at the border of human territory. Admiral of the Crystalline Hegemony commanded this armada. He was a veteran of 17 conflicts. He had never lost a battle. He expected this mission to be simple. The fleet entered human space on the morning of March 15, 2218. They advanced toward the colony of New Singapore, intending to establish a blockade and force negotiations. Admiral organized his ships in the traditional Council formation, spreading them across a wide area to prevent any escape. The humans did not try to escape. From behind the third moon of New Singapore, a wall of metal emerged. Human warships, hundreds of them, rising like an iron tide. They were not the crude boxes the Council remembered. These were sleek predators with hull plating that absorbed sensor readings. Their weapons charged with energies that Admiral did not recognize. The battle lasted 47 minutes. When it was over, 412 Council ships drifted as burning wreckage. The remaining vessels fled into hyperspace, carrying stories of human weapons that cut through shields like they were not there, of missiles that thought and hunted, of electronic attacks that turned Council ships against each other. Admiral was among the dead. The Council fell into chaos. Emergency sessions lasted for months. Representatives screamed accusations at each other. Some demanded total war. Others begged for immediate peace. A few quietly began reaching out to human diplomats, hoping to secure favorable terms before everything collapsed. High Counselor called for order. He was not ready to surrender. He gathered the military leaders of every major species and demanded a plan. The response was a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 4,000 warships from 30 species. The combined might of civilizations that had ruled the stars for. Surely this would be enough. The Grand Fleet entered human space in 2220. They expected resistance. They expected battle. What they found was something that broke their understanding of what was possible. Humanity had not been waiting. Humanity had been building. The first human formation appeared near the star called Bernard's Rest. 800 warships arranged in perfect geometric patterns. The Council fleet adjusted course to engage. Then another formation appeared near Station. Then another near Wolf's Gate. Then another. And another. Within 6 hours, the Council fleet found itself surrounded by 12,000 human warships. 12,000. High Admiral X of the collective mind stared at the tactical display and felt something he had not experienced in 2 centuries of warfare. Fear. The humans did not attack. Instead, a single ship moved forward from the encircling fleet. It was small, elegant, and completely unarmed. A communication request was sent to the Council flagship. A human woman appeared on the. She wore a simple uniform without medals or decorations. Her hair was gray, her face lined with age, but her eyes burned with quiet confidence. "I am Admiral Sarah of the United Earth Fleet," she said, "granddaughter of Ambassador Wei, who first welcomed your people to our system. I have a message for the Galactic Council." High Admiral X found his voice. "Speak." Admiral smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was the smile of someone who had already won and wanted no more bloodshed. "You ignored us when we were weak. You dismissed us when we were young. You tried to restrict us when we grew stronger. You attacked us when we refused to submit. And now you come with your greatest fleet expecting to finally crush us." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "But we are not the species you met 30 years ago. We have walked to the edges of this galaxy and found it wanting. We have built ships that can cross the distance between stars in heartbeats. We have developed weapons that your scientists cannot understand. And we have done all of this while you sat in your ancient halls, believing that age meant wisdom." The tactical display updated. More human signatures were appearing. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands more. "The ships you see around you are only a fraction of our fleet," Admiral continued. "We have encircled not just your armada but every major system in Council space. As we speak, human vessels are positioned within strike distance of your shipyards, your food production centers. We could end your civilizations today if we chose." High Admiral X felt his heart stop. "But we do not choose that," Admiral said. "We are not conquerors. We are not monsters. We are simply humanity, and we want nothing more than to be left alone to find our own path among the stars. So here is our offer." She held up a single data crystal. "This contains a new treaty, one written by equals, not masters and servants. You will recognize human sovereignty over all systems we currently occupy. You will not interfere with our expansion into unclaimed space. You will not restrict our development or our trade. In return, we will not interfere with your affairs, your territories, or your precious council." "And if we refuse?" High Admiral X asked. Admiral's smile faded. "Then the galaxy will learn why humanity was never meant to be contained." The treaty was signed within the hour. The Council fleet, the great armada dispersed, returning to that would never feel safe again. In the years that followed, humanity continued to spread across the galaxy. They colonized worlds that other species considered impossible. They built stations in the hearts of nebulae. They established outposts at the edges of black holes. They became traders, explorers, scientists, and artists. They shared their knowledge freely with any species willing to treat them as equals. The Galactic Council continued to exist, but it was never the same. Its authority had been broken by a species that had been among the stars for less than a century. Every time a council representative looked at the human ships that now moved freely through their space, they remembered the lesson they had learned. Some species could not be controlled, some fires could not be contained, and sometimes the small blue world that everyone had ignored would rise to encircle the stars themselves. High Counselor lived for another 300 years. In his final memoir, written for the archives of his people, he included a single warning for future generations. Never ignore humanity, never underestimate them, never assume that because they are young they are weak. They are not like us. They do not accept limits. They do not understand the word impossible. And when you push them, they push back with the force of a million suns. The galaxy had learned this lesson the hard way. It would not forget.